It was on the 30th of June 1998. It was in the stadium in France of Saint-Etienne, where England and Argentina were playing together inside the World Cup 1998. With the match being tied at 2-2. It was that David Beckham. He was running and fell down. He was ruthlessly tackled by an Argentine player of the name Diego Simeone. David Beckham was lying down in absolute agony and petulantly, in anger, kicked Diego Simeone, albeit lightly. Simeone collapsed as if he had been knocked out by Mike Tyson, and the referee came and gave a red card to David Beckham, and he was off the field. Afterwards, England ended up losing the match against Argentina on penalties, and they were knocked out on the last 16 of the World Cup. And shortly after, the country needed a scapegoat of England, and they chose David Beckham, who had been sent off in this ultimate match. And he was greeted with boos. He became shortly the most hated figure in England. Even the Prime Minister of the time, Tony Blair, actually said that David Beckham is going to have to learn from it. And for years after, for the next couple of years, he was booed on the stadium by all the opposing fans, and his life was in turmoil. And he became an underdog, and everything collapsed in smithereens for him personally. Interesting enough, we see inside the Torah many situations of people in hopeless situations, and where they come back from it from the underdog status. And we learn this in Sefer Bereshit. We actually learn in the Parshiot of Vayishlach till Vayeshev, till all the way till Miketz Vayechi, about Yosef HaTzadik. He was accused on different charges from his brothers of doing certain acts, crimes he didn't commit. And shortly afterwards, they threw him inside a pit, and he was sold into slavery, and eventually ended up in the prison itself after being called on chopped up charges from Potiphar's wife. And he was thrown into the prison inside this dungeon, and the inmates shortly afterwards, they started speaking to him. He had a cheeky, chirpy personality inside the prison, and he didn't let the whole bad situation of being stuck in a prison let him down. And he greeted everyone in the morning with a smile. He kept on bringing them happy and positive, and everyone else. And shortly afterwards, the different inmates actually came and asked him for dream interpretations, different interpretations, and he gave it successfully. And automatically, he became famous in the prison, as a person that can actually interpret all the different dreams. Shortly afterwards, it came that Pharaoh himself, approached him and had different dreams, and asked him if he can interpret it. And he interpreted them successfully, so much that Pharaoh at the end took him from this dungeon and automatically put him as the viceroy of Egypt, and he became in charge, the most prominent position at the time of the world. He went from being a zero to a hero instantly, and then became Yosef, and they brought the brothers, the different tribes, the 70 different, and they ended up becoming 70 different nations, and that's where the blueprint of the Torah came from shortly afterwards. This was all despite being the underdog. And they actually say, the Sfat Emet and others teach, that within each of us personally, there's a spark of Yosef HaTzadik in us. During the year, that spark of holiness yearns to escape in various forms of activities we may be doing. It tries to form a spiritual prism, but it finds itself unable to. The days of Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, the Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, is a very powerful time. It's actually on Rosh Hashanah. We are confronted by the awesome might of Hashem, of God itself. How is this? Here we are. We're going to be in the Beit Knesset, in the synagogue. During Rosh Hashanah, we will read on Rosh Hashanah the Tefillah of Hannah, respectively. Okay, so what's going on? She was a woman that sought for many, many years to have children. She was desperate to have children, and she never gave up hope, and cried so much to Hashem, praying very much for children. Hashem actually remembered her on Rosh Hashanah itself, respectively, and answered her wishes on this day. And on this day, it was decreed that Shmuel Hanavi, Shmuel the prophet, will become really, really great later on, would actually become the child of Hannah at the end. And he will end up leading Am Yisrael. And that was a potency of the prayer. They actually also relate, the Gemora does, that it was on Rosh Hashanah itself that Sarah and Rachel, two of the imahot, the foremothers who were barren originally, were to give birth later on, and that barrenness was going to be taken away totally. And it's actually interesting, Hannah's prayer, her tefillah, was so potent that the rabbis categorized her prayer as one of the 10 prophetic songs in the Torah, Nevi'im and Ketuvim respectively. That's how potent it was. She was to give birth, as I said before, to Shmuel. And actually Shmuel, interesting enough, was appointed as the prophet of the kings of Israel and appointed Shaul and what was to be King David later on to become the kings of Israel respectively. In fact, Tfilat Chana itself assumes a central role in our Rosh Hashanah Tfilah in a liturgy. It is not only read as the Haftarah on the first day, but it is also the basis for the centrality of Rosh Hashanah service. The Musaf Brachot, or Malchiot, Zichronot, and Shofrot, according to Rabbi Yitzchak in Masechet Brachot, in Daf, Chav, Tet, Aleph, which make up the 9 additional Brachot on Rosh Hashanah, are based on the 9 references of Hashem by Hannah in this beautiful, potent prayer respectively. In life, we could always see ourselves stuck in a dire situation where we feel we have come out short. We can feel things maybe beyond repair, but nevertheless, guys, we can always strive for the best. Do the best we can. We can make the impossible possible. In fact, even if we feel we have hit rock bottom, in whatever it may be, we can still try to find a way out. We can make a huge effort to surpass our own expectations. As we are on Rosh Hashanah, here we are again, making the same promises that we made in year in and year out. We could really excel this year in whatever we want to do, whatever it might be respectively, and we can give ourselves a spiritual boost that will give us that potency for the year to come. Now let's look back. I was saying before about David Beckham originally. He was a hate figure back in 1998, if we can recollect, after he got sent off in that time. And the next 2 seasons, he became arguably the most popular person in Britain at the end. He became, his performances on and off the pitch was phenomenal. He ended up 4 years later, it was after being sent off in the World Cup, and became the most unpopular guy in England. He became the most popular guy in England when he scored a penalty against Argentina. And there it was, the person that got him sent off and ruined his career, it seemed like, this Diego Simeone, ended up humiliated on that day itself as England excelled itself. And funnily enough, his downfall actually happened in France in Saint Etienne in 1998. He later on retired in the year 2013 with Paris Saint-Germain. And later at that stage, he ended up becoming one of the iconic figures in the world at that time, one of the greatest celebrities. And he ended up donating millions of pounds to French charities at that point in time. If that wouldn't have happened to him, all those lows back in 1998, he would never become so great, because he took that attitude of being so unpopular, and he ended up becoming the most popular person inside the world because of all the effort he had. He didn't make himself feel down. Here we are in the high holy days. Perhaps we too can take inspiration from the ups and downs we have had throughout the year or throughout our lifetime respectively. We don't just need to say what resolutions we have to make for the Jewish New Year as it passes us. We have the key to do more and be more. We may feel relationships could be strengthened at this stage in time. Maybe we could be inspired to sweep our husbands, our wives and partners off their feet. Well, maybe not our business partners. Maybe just try to impress them more. We could strive to be the best parents to our children respectively. Show them more love and understanding as they face the problems of the difficult times of today, these turbulent times. Help them the best way we can to help them achieve the great results in schools and universities. Be upstanding citizens in our society at this stage in time. We could excel in all areas of life through determination, motivation, but also with happiness. We should endeavor to use all our determination at this stage in time. And finally, everyone in his or her prayers to God sometimes feel thoughts of wonder. Well, that is good as long as throughout the whole year we let God seep in our minds here and there in our business activities and everything else. But we should try and make the most of the day, guys. We're in the Bet Knesset. It's a time to grasp the opportunity to learn, to grow, to make our promises to Hashem, our New Year's resolutions, friends. And guys, if we do this, put it on ourselves, we can have a phenomenal year to come. But guys, I want to wish you all a Shana Tova UMetuka. Have a happy, sweet new year. Ektiva Chatima Tova. And keep growing. And you know, it's a time to grasp the opportunity where we are. Let's try and do that extra. We get bored in the middle of synagogue. We try and stay